You are a mighty Astartes of the Dark Angel Legion, the first, and you are proud. You have been suffering, posted on Caliban in your perceived exile under the ultimate command of your genesire's foster father, a great man and noble commander. Daily, you rub shoulders with veteran warriors of Terran descent who formed the mighty First since its inception. Outnumbering these stoic warriors are line brothers and neophytes alike of Caliban descent, not long inducted and who have not had the chance to ply the stars to unify mankind's domains under the Emperor's banner. At last your legion is destined to come home once more, the ebbs and tides of the warp having calmed sufficiently to allow the fleet safe passage within the Caliban system. Lionel Johnson and the mainstay of your brothers, who it is told have been harrying Horus's defeated rebels towards the Eye of Terror, will once more unite with those stationed on Caliban, and it is hoped by all, reorganize the chapters and replenish losses, allowing you and your brothers the chance to exact vengeance on the fleeing traitors. Suddenly, shock ripples throughout the fortress defenders in a palpable wave, as the returned fleet have opened fire from their battle barges in orbit. Confusion now, as the Order's fortress is on a war footing. The intense barrage raining down from orbit is so destructive, so sustained in its efforts, that it seems the vengeful, mailed fist of the Lion himself has descended from the heavens with the sole intention of eradicating every speck of life from the planet's surface. Outrage clouds your mind as you take up arms to defend your legion's home world. Does he mean to slay us all, as if his sons were mere beasts of the forest to be culled? An emotion your transhuman anatomy has not processed since before rising to superhuman status. Humiliation. What have you done to earn such censure by your own family? The monastic fortress of the Order that has been your home since your inception into the Legion some years ago weathers the destruction in stoic silence, a mirror of the Legion in its fierce temerity. Caliban itself, however, seems to lack the protective wards of the fortress, as the tectonic plates deep beneath the planet's surface begin to grind and shift. The invaders have made planetfall. There is utter confusion as veteran and neophyte alike are cut down by those in the exact same heraldry and armour. These are your brothers, your father. What is this treachery? What have you done to deserve such censure? It is unimaginable to even consider the Lion has thrown his lot in with Horus and his ilk. Surely the fault is with you. That is when you spot him. He who would become the object of your unadulterated hate from this moment and every waking second thereafter. Wading through a press of your brothers is the man you'd seen only in the great portraits which adorn the Order's fortress on Caliban. The distant father you had craved to meet. He is set upon by men you have trained with and lived beside for years, but he bats them aside with a mailed fist, or slices them in twain with his noble blade. Their blood runs thick down the fuller and meets the crossguard of the lion sword, a blade which has proved the downfall of insurrections across the breadth of the galaxy, and now it does so here too. This fateful, scarcely believable trail of events would mark the moment when your life truly began. That day onwards, the true sons of Caliban have been scattered through space and time. Your brothers who were not butchered by the Dark Angel impostors under the command of the Lion were scattered throughout the millennia. Some in the past, others in the present, but to far-off planets, and others yet still, unbelievably, into the future. It seems the punishing barrage from the Lion's fleet, paired with the unnatural forces wielded on Caliban's surface that day, did more than destroy your homeworld. They opened a rift in which the remaining loyal sons of the forest were saved from their father's wrath. For a time. Remember guys, especially as we draw closer to some interesting new Black Library releases, Titan Wargaming covers all new lore within 40k as it develops, so subscribing and enabling notifications is an excellent way to make sure this is delivered straight to your feed, ensuring you are always up to date with an in-depth coverage. I'd love if we could build a community of 8,000 subs by Christmas Day, so I'd appreciate if you could consider this if you are learning or being entertained by our content. Wow, Monkey King is now a legendary hero, but that's not all. Raid Shadow Legends is generously giving him free for a limited time. Now, a word from today's sponsor, none other than Raid Shadow Legends. Whether you are a new recruit or a hardened veteran in the struggle against the Dark Lord Siroth, these free promotional gifts will add even more depth to your raid campaigns. The game is available for Android, iOS and PC, and you can download it and try the game for free using my link or scan the QR code and receive some amazing heroes. As a new player, use one of the following promo codes to receive another strong champion at the start of your journey. You can only choose one code as a new user. Choose wisely. Be quick, as these codes are only available for a limited time. Use code Monkey King to get Sun Wukong. The legendary champion's ability to self-revive is a massive advantage to your team. Use code RAID4KELLEN to receive Kellen the Strike, epic champion with powerful area of effect damage. Code RAID Warmaiden will get you the rare champion Warmaiden, who has a powerful area of effect decreased defense buff. Code RAID4Mord will get you the epic champion Mordecai, who has the ability to HP burn enemies. New players and experienced players with existing accounts can take advantage of I Love Raid promo code right now to receive a free rare champion preserver and useful in-game loot. To redeem promo codes, tap on the tab on the left-hand side of the screen and then select the promo codes option. Once in the promo codes window, type in your promo code and hit confirm. You will receive confirmation if your entry was successful, and you can then claim your rewards from your inbox. Once again guys, click the link in the description or scan the QR code and receive an amazing starter of 2 epic heroes and a rare hero for free. You can perhaps begin to understand that the circumstances responsible for splitting the loyalties of the Lion's Sons are not so much a matter of loyalist and traitor, despite the fact loyalty within that era was already in scarce supply. Inside what was, and still is, the most secretive, suspicious Loyalist Astartes formation, these misgivings can only become magnified and even misunderstood. There are many who believe that when the Lion did at last return to his exiled sons on Caliban, he did so with unwarranted suspicion in his heart, his finger already searching for the slightest provocation to pull the trigger and damn his perceived wayward sons. Others maintain it was the followers of Luther and Astalan who first opened fire upon their returned sire, jealousy and corruption equally poisoning their hearts and motives that were entirely selfish, born from the corrupting influence of Caliban's strange, wild depths. Still, there are those who believe the truth lays somewhere in between these accounts. The Legion's own many mercurial orders and brotherhoods, creating misunderstanding as well as distrust in equal measure. The truth is, it matters not now, for the conflict which erupted was so cataclysmic. The chaos energies unleashed only further weakened Caliban's planetary crust. Following the planet's sustained punishment by the First Legion's orbit-piercing weaponry, it did at last relent, shattering asunder. Simultaneously, vile warp energies harnessed by Luther and his ilk erupted, scattering those exiles close by throughout time and space. This is the single most pivotal event within the entire history of the Dark Angels. Not even their greatest battle honours could level the scales of judgment against the heresy committed by the Lion's Sons, for all is overshadowed in betrayal. For the next 10 millennia, their brother's now ancient betrayal would become the overriding narrative which drives forward the unforgiven. In a galaxy which more than ever requires the Emperor's angels to deliver mankind from evil, the Lion's Sons would readily abandon any in need for the promise of capturing one of these fallen angels. For all their knightly demeanour, even arrogance, the thin-blooded Astartes of the Dark Angels chapter are a far cry from the knightly orders of the Great Crusade. Perhaps this fault will be remedied now their gene-sire has returned. Those scattered were all mercilessly assumed to be loyal to the arch-traitor Luther, and opposed to their father, and therefore considered in opposition to the rightful rule of the Emperor of mankind. These so-called fallen numbered in the thousands, and so despite their younger brother's best efforts to eradicate every last one, this has not been possible. It is of course a never-ending endeavour, as there are likely a number which have not materialised as yet, even within the most current era, that of Indomitus. The stoic Dark Angels, those thin-blood descendants of the First Legion, believe that with each fallen who chooses to repent, it is another smear to their honour cleaned, one further dent to their armour of contempt which has been repaired. If they knew the truth, were they made to understand the situation of so many Calibanites that fateful day, do you believe the torturer's blade would fall less often? I think not. You see, despite so many Astartes being miserable upon Caliban, many of those considered fallen were not simply impressionable, inexperienced neophytes, but were in fact the veteran of their orders, those who had bore the Legion's heraldry since its inception on Terra, before even the Lion was discovered on Caliban. Whilst in their banishment, resentful of the fact they would no longer take part in the Great Crusade, or visit righteous fury upon Horus's traitors, some of those exiles accepted the fact that the hostile world of Caliban was wrought with strange magics, twisting much of what was intended only to become an unrecognisable parody of itself. In doing so, they have accepted events leading up to the scattering. Others, perhaps even a greater quantity, persevere to spite the galaxy, surviving its many torments, bitter towards the unfair turn of events which saw them fall from the Emperor's grace and into this hell pit of religious zealotry and constant persecution. For all who were scattered, no matter their musings on the matter, there are as varied fates which occupy them now as there are unforgiven successor chapters to hunt them across the galaxy. A decent amount, perhaps surprisingly, did choose to lay down bolter and chainsword, reintegrating into a simpler culture on more outlying backwater planets. These select few adopt various mannerisms of the local populace with the goal of effecting as smooth as possible patriation within their society. There exist more still who are loath to behold what the Imperium has devolved into, now that the Emperor of mankind's imperial truth is long forgotten. They did choose the life of outcast, forever migrating across the galaxy. For to linger in one system for too long is to invite familiarity within those in closest proximity, and the unforgiven sons have eyes everywhere. For these fallen in particular, life is difficult. Travel is tedious, if not arduous. They must bribe charter captains to stave off too many questions, whilst in other circumstances they may pose as gene-enhanced serfs or labourers. These latter disguises in particular have been used numerous times in an attempt to mask the true reason to their unusual bulk. Being forced to operate in this way, an existence of subterfuge and manipulation, is contradictory to the true nature and purpose of those who bear the blood of the Lion. So you can see it is easy to empathise with those of the First Legion who have been labelled as fallen, and thus as heretics. For since the confusion on Caliban at the closing of the heresy, many have existed in this way, avoiding those true renegades and traitors who deliberately conspire against the Golden Throne. Of those fallen tainted by hate, not all have fallen to the worship of dark gods, for a space marine once unleashed from the shackles of duty and command is akin to an inmate being released from their shackles after decades of confinement. Much is within their power to take, and there exist many joys which they were not privy to previously, being psycho-indoctrinated and monitored so intensely. Many are drawn into the company of renegade warbands, small groups of Astartes whose only loyalty is to themselves, whilst a handful forge independent kingdoms, the corners of solitary systems in which there exists very little imperial presence to reprimand their piratical efforts. Others still, despite their best intentions, are slowly corrupted by the whispering temptations of the great enemy. Their time within the warp, or even close proximity to those of a more corrupt nature, slowly contaminating their noble souls. These once proud knights of Caliban devolve into raving madmen, tormented by a history they cannot affect or alter. And for the most despised of their number, those who willingly surrender their souls to the loathsome beings called gods, they are often of superb martial achievement. Stoic beings whose hate-filled hearts single them out when amid corrupted Astartes of separate gene heritage. It does bear mentioning, mind you, that only one corrupted fallen has ever attained the lofty heights of demonhood. This is the one named Marbus, who it is said led a formidable battle host of corrupted fallen against the Rock in recent years, stealing away Luther from his cells before withdrawing once more. Moving on from the character and allegiance of these fallen angels, there exist particular ways for these fugitives to communicate. For so vengeful are their pursuers in the persecution of their duty, that any common meeting place would be flushed out, and all those present dragged to the deepest cells within the Rock. However, as we have stated already, Astartes more often than not crave the brotherhood they have enjoyed for so many years. As such, many fallen elect to make themselves known in a way others of their kind can follow, often communicated by painted or scratched markings in public places. Particular sigils and even heraldries are used, which only dark angels indoctrinated into the Legion prior to the relocation of the Lion would be familiar with. These distinct markings are then passed between fallen travellers as they encounter more of their kind, and thus are these ways permeated throughout their many and varied ranks. In appearance, one is a circle in which 3 vertical lines are drawn. 3 horizontal marks then are scratched across them to give the rough impression of cross guards. This is the heraldry of the Host of Blades, the most numerous brotherhood which lay at the core of the First Legion. Another is a circle within which is scratched a horizontal line topped with 5 vertical lines. This denotes the ancient brotherhood of the Host of Crowds, line breakers and champions alike. In some ironic parody of their past glory, these ancient proud heraldries are once more borne aloft in open view of the masses. They are however typically engraved upon the building or dwelling opposite the main entrance to the largest basilica, or even to adorn the outer walls of a capital scholar. By marking locations of common institutions across the breadth of the Imperium, there is more often than not places of note which fallen can prioritise to visit on their travels, ensuring they do not need to risk making themselves known openly or for protracted periods in search of others of their kind. Once located, there are subsequent marks to form something of a trail, but nothing so mundane. The next mark in a procession of instructions may be 2 streets over and 3 to the north, the seeker having to possess the First Legion's stoic thoroughness to locate their hidden kin. Of course, there are many fallen who have since forgiven their father, Lionel Johnson, for the part he played in their Legion's sundering so long ago. For those of the fallen who have not accepted chaos into their hearts and are truly capable of being trusted to act once more in the Imperium's best interest, the Lion offers both forgiveness as well as his own regrets, admitting his mistakes which contributed to the scattering of his sons, as well as the sundering of his Legion. It is quite remarkable, in fact, the contrast between Lionel Johnson during the Crusade and Heresy era compared to the man he has become, and whilst even by his own admission, it is difficult for the Lion to consider others, having to make a conscious effort to see matters from others' perspectives, the man he has become is not only possessing of forgiveness, but is both wiser and even remorseful for the events which transpired and what his sons have endured since that era. And so have the Risen become a more formalised title, more so anyway than the epithet of Fallen. And as the Lion gathers to his side the beginnings of a mighty host, allied imperial systems within the nightmare realm of Imperium Nihilus now come to be known as the Protectorate. His forgiven sons provide not only peerless skill at arms, but immense tactical foresight and genius akin to their fathers. The prime mark of the first means to fight back against the powers of the warp which veil the Astronomicon from Nihilus, an almost insurmountable task made infinitely more achievable with every wayward son who is returned to their liege side. For some fallen still, they either refuse to believe the lion has outgrown his arrogant ways, choosing instead to keep their own counsel and persevering in a galaxy which hates them. Though I am sure many can see in the way they are not persecuted or trailed, that at least an inkling of the lion's self-proclaimed changed reputation may not be a falsehood. There will always be those who are irrevocably tainted nonetheless, and for those vermin await the chambers of Asmodai and his order, the interrogated chaplains. For even though many fallen have flocked to the Protectorate's banner, many more with corruption in their hearts guard knowledge concerning traitor schemes, and even, with any luck, the whereabouts of the arch-traitor Luther and his forces. Very little of what occurs within the vast borders of Imperium Nihilus is known by souls not trapped within that hellish zone of space. However, the series of allied systems the Lion's newly formed Protectorate is become have begun to garner renown. So much, in fact, that the message spread by his risen envoys have even reached the ears of the Regent of Nihilus himself, Chapter Master Dante of the Blood Angels. This is all well and good, however now the Dark Angels have been reunited with their Gene Father during the accounts of the most recent Arcs of Omen lore. Do you believe they will bear all to him? Will Azrael and the supreme members of the Inner Circle recognise the Lion as father, or merely a relic of the past whose ambitions and objectives are more akin to some perceived heresy than any which align with their own? And even though many fallen have received clemency from their father, supposedly rejoining the Imperium, do you truly believe they are safe in the company of their more contemporary counterparts? It would not surprise me in the least if members of the Risen were to disappear abruptly, never to be heard from again. Make sure you leave a comment letting us know how the Forgiven's tale will evolve. Do you think there's a chance they'll receive updated sculpts with the Dark Angels model line being updated by Games Workshop? I'm excited to see. Now guys, if you're looking to buy models or hobby supplies for Christmas, then Gap Games have you covered with 21% off 40k. You don't need to enter in a special code or anything like that, it's simply the discount that Brett and his team provide. If you check out the site via the link in the description, then it will automatically let the team know you visited through Titan Wargaming, and will entitle the channel to a percentage of any web sales. It's an excellent way to support a local business and Titan Wargaming, so thank you for your consideration. We're trying to build the community out to 8k by Christmas, so if you found this entertaining or learnt something new, bash that sub and notification button guys. As you know, I've also created a Patreon recently as I feel it's a great way to take a step back from the 6 to 4 and enable me to make more content throughout the week. Feel free to check out the link in the description so you can see what comes with each tier. I did a lot of research into what people in the community offer, and personally I feel there's great value in what's there. Please remember to download Raid Shadow Legends, these epic deals won't last long. Simply follow the link in the video's description or QR code on the screen. I really hope you got some joy and inspiration out of the video. Until next week, take it easy and have a good one.